Okay, YouTube, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the garage. You're probably gonna see the pup running around in the background, but the focus of today's video, as you could tell from the title and the thumbnail, is really what to look for when you're purchasing a motorcycle. Things to look for. In my experience, I've been riding for a little over 25 years and I've purchased plenty of bikes in that time. And I had a buddy actually recently pick up this 2019 CBR 300R. And it's his first bike. He's just starting to ride. And he asked me to go with him to pick it up from a dealership and really just what to look for. So that got me thinking, if he's wondering what to be looking for, and a lot of people don't have a lot of friends that ride, why not help out with this video and kind of share what the items we look for when purchasing this bike. Now, a few other things we can address is buying new versus pre-owned, or buying from a private party or from a dealership. Like I said, this one came from a dealer and there were quite a few things that he benefited from, and I'll go through that as far as maintenance items by buying through a dealer. But you can sometimes save a little bit of money by going through a private party and doing the work yourself. So I'm gonna step around to the other side of the camera like I always do and start going through this thing with you all. Okay guys, like I said, this is a 2019 Honda CBR 300R. And a lot of people refer to these as like the ideal starting motorcycle. It is a single cylinder, also known as a thumper, and it kind of plays in the category of like the Ninja 250R. That's like the main competitor I can think of relative to these. And I figured what better place to start this video off than how my buddy purchased it. He picked it up at a local dealership. And honestly, that kind of kicks off the discussion of going private party or through a dealer. So I'll try to cover some of those topics. I guess the first big one being is the benefits of going through a dealership, which this bike specifically had. It got all of the maintenance done, tires, fluids, etc. And we'll go into depth on those, but that is the benefit of buying at a dealership, because when you're buying from a private party, obviously there's a lot of question marks and a lot of, I guess for lack of a better term, unknowns relative to like warranty and if any issues arise. Now, again, most dealerships, they're pretty friendly. If let's say we were riding this home and there was a huge oil leak, we could bring it back and there'd be no issues. But if you're buying from a private party, that's really not the case. They could tell you to go pound sand, kick rocks. It's not their problem anymore. So that is the risk of buying private party. But the benefits of buying private party, you can sometimes save a lot of money, right? They're just a lower cost. You don't have to deal with all the dealership fees. And a lot of people look at that as a positive. But if you are buying private party more so than not, definitely stay tuned for this whole video, because there's things that you need to look for that really come into play when you are looking at a privately owned bike versus at a dealership. And again, there is no right or wrong answer when purchasing your bike. The goal of this video is really just to kind of help guide you. And, you know, sometimes buying from a dealership is better for some people. You can get financing. Some people have the cash and want to save some money, so they buy private party. So do what's best for you. But the whole purpose of this video is really focused around that. And again, I guess the dog's going to be keeping us company as well. Okay, so the next most important thing is tires. Now, as I said, my buddy bought this from a dealership. So they were kind enough, and you can just know that they would replace the tires. But some dead giveaways of this, short of anything else, there's still lines in the tires, so you know that they are a brand new tire. Now, as you're inspecting the tire, let's just say it didn't have the lines. You can actually look really closely at the tire, and there's a few things to check for here. So first, check if it has lines. If it doesn't have lines, check the actual tread itself. Is there tread left? Obviously, this has a lot of life left in it, so I know it's a new tire. Is there any balding on the tire? Was the previous owner doing burnouts? How far are these strips from the end? These are referred to as chicken strips if they don't lay the bike down far enough when going into turns. But why it's important to check that was if it's used all the way to the end, you can tell this bike has kind of seen its time either to track, just riding rough on the roads, or just kind of putting through the paces. If all that fails, you can kind of inspect the tire rubber itself. And I'll put a picture up so you guys can see what I'm talking about, but there's something called dry rot. Dry rot in tires are really fine little cracks in the rubber, and it usually is because the rubber is dried out. Now, that's kind of things from a visible standpoint that you can check on the tire itself. Now, I'll step around to the front and I'll grab a light so you guys can see this. you guys have probably heard of this before, and this is on almost all tires, something called date codes. And date codes on the tires, I'm going to turn this upside down so you guys can see. Date codes will always live near the DOT kind of stamp on the tires. When you see that, you know that the date code is nearby. And there's some things that, you know, I'm not really fully aware of. And maybe this initial YAYM, I don't know what that is. But you'll see this 3025. What this means is that these tires were made on the 30th week of 2025. So as you go through this, you can check date codes and just feel like whether they're new or old. As I said, we know that they were replaced. In this case, 30th week of 2025, kind of towards the end of riding season. So these are new tires. Now, short of anything else, if the tires look good, rubber feels good, and there's a date code of 3 years or less, you can probably get away with it. But know as tires start getting older and older, 4, 5, 6 years old, you should just know to replace them because the rubber is going to get harder and really not perform at as high of a clip as new tires would. So I hope that makes sense. Okay guys, next up, and you won't always have a handy stool, but I'm probably gonna have to get off of this anyway. So I'll step down low. I'm gonna put my back through its paces today. Next most important thing to check is the chain and sprocket on the motorcycle. Now, a few things to check for when looking at a chain. One is how much slack there is. Now there should be some slack because when it's under tension, it's gonna get hard, but there shouldn't be more than usually maybe an inch. That's always a good sign. If you can kind of tell it's an inch, and actually there's even things here, usually on the swing arm, to tell you guys what you're looking for. But if there's not, know that about an inch of play is where you want it to be. So that's the first thing. The second thing you want to inspect for is rust on the chain. Has this been outside? Has this seen a lot of outside in bad conditions? Now, as you can tell, there's some surface rust, but I think this is nothing more than just from sitting. But the chain actually looks to be in pretty good shape. So that's kind of the next thing you look for. And I guess kind of as you're doing that, you can check to see, is it lubricated? If you get some stuff on your fingers, safe bet, it's probably decently lubricated. And if it's not, there's quite a few ways to clean a chain. I'm not gonna go through that with you all, but don't be scared if it's kind of a dirty chain. You just wanna make sure it's not terribly rusted and not terribly loose so you can feel safe riding it. Kind of in the same breath, like I said, you'll wanna check the sprocket itself. How do the teeth on the sprocket look? Do they look worn down? Now this bike only has about 5,000 miles, so the sprocket shouldn't be too worn down. But as bikes get in higher mileage and kind of go through more and more heat and just, I guess, tension and resistance through the chain, sprockets get worn down. Now there is a back one and there is a front one, but you'll notice the front one's usually covered. So it's safe to say that if the back one looks good, the front one usually is too. If the back one is not good, then you should probably go through the extent of just knowing that you're probably gonna have to replace the front one too. It's just the way of the game. So hopefully getting down here, almost throwing my back out, is useful for you all. You can kind of check it from the back as well, kind of just see how lubricated it is. And actually, as I'm looking at this, I'm probably gonna just lube it up a little bit more for him so he doesn't have any issues. Make sure you're using a chain lube. Don't use like just some random grease and stuff. They make chain lube for a reason. It lasts longer, has a better viscosity, and it's just meant for this application. So just know that. Okay, as we step around to the other side, we'll move on to the next item that should be checked after checking the chain. And that is fluids. Now, as I said, this was purchased from a dealer. They told us that the fluids were changed, so you can usually feel confident, as long as it's a reputable dealer, that the fluids were indeed changed. But there's a few ways to actually see this, and many people don't know this, but I'll see if I can do this one-handed without dropping the bike. You guys are gonna see what we refer to as a sight glass here. And sight glasses are literally that. They're meant to check oil, and there's actually lines usually to tell you, hey, oil should be in this range. If it's above it, you should be concerned. If it's below it, you should be concerned. We'll start with the oil sight glass. Like I said, I'll try to do this. Fortunately, this bike is pretty light, so I can pull it off of its kickstand. But if it is a two-person job, you'll want to make sure that you kind of have someone sit on it and sit the bike upright.
Now right now, I don't know if you can see that, oil is in there. Again, it's kind of hard to tell without me flipping the bike over, but there is oil and it is between the right sight glass eyes. I'll move my fingers. Hopefully you guys can see that. So always check the sight glass for oil, for the color of the oil. Now, like I said, we actually did this already. I had him sit on it and I looked through it and the oil was really clean. You can even kind of see the remnants that are there. It's all clean, brand new oil. That's the first fluid. The second fluid is up here, your brake fluid. Now, like I said, we know it's been changed, but I want to show you guys. There are aftermarket bars, aftermarket levers and bars on this bike, but so it's actually kind of blocking the reservoir. But the reservoir is always going to sit on the right side in front of the brake lever, and it's usually kind of like a brake fluid, hydraulic type fluid. I guess you get what I'm saying. But you can kind of shine a light in there. You can see that there is fluid. It does look clean, so you can feel confident the brakes were probably bled and new fluid put in. But those are the two things. Some people say check coolant too. If you can check the coolant, more power to you. But definitely check the oil and check the brake fluid. Okay, so this next piece is going to require a startup, but there's a reasoning for doing a startup. I'm not just starting it for the fun of it. So first and foremost, whether it be through a dealer or private party, you're going to want to make sure that you can touch the engine. It is very important that you ask whoever the seller is not to start the bike. You want to be able to be the one warming it. You want a cold start. And the test of that, be able to put your hand on the engine. If you cannot put your hand on the engine, that means it was started. And usually 9 times out of 10, they're trying to hide something. So even when I'm selling bikes, I purposely do not start it. I want the next owner to be the first to start it and kind of see everything for himself. Now, there's a few things to be checking. First and foremost, upon initial startup, you want to be checking the exhaust for any weird smells or smoke. And usually the smoke is going to be a white or bluish in color. If there's an issue, that means there's some coolant issues, head gasket, etc. You know what I mean. This is an aftermarket exhaust. I believe it's a Yoshimura, but either way, the process is exactly the same. So start with checking for smoke upon startup. A little bit is okay. It's usually condensation. There's some oil buildup from sitting. But after you check for that, the second thing, is there a rough idle? Does the bike idle on its own? Are you going to be watching the RPM kind of bouncing a little bit? If you're seeing it bouncing all around and it sounds funny, it usually is. So that's the second thing. And then third, is there any ticking or weird noises? Again, I told you to listen for noises from the exhaust, but is there anything coming from that engine? You can tell what sounds right and what doesn't. I tell people, if it sounds like there's marbles in a dryer, there's probably something majorly wrong. So let's move on to this and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Obviously, you're gonna wanna be able to turn the key. Do all the lights work? Yes. Does startup work? And I'm gonna turn you guys to the back so you guys can see this. All right, so I don't see any smoke upon startup. That's a good sign. I don't hear any weird noises coming from the engine. Also a good sign. And I don't hear any ticking. So all beneficial signs. And does the idle seem to be staying pretty consistent? It is. At right about 1900, 2000 RPM. That's a good spot to be. And if I give it throttle, does the revs come back down? All super important things to be watching for. I'll kill the bike and we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, so this next one is kind of fun because you know what you're getting into, especially with beginner bikes. We know that beginner bikes are beginner bikes for a reason, right? They've been dropped, they've been scuffed, they've been scratched. But this is kind of the next item that you should be looking for. How bad is really the question, right? You're gonna have love marks across a bike. I've polished this one, so it looks a little bit better. But I'll show you some of the things to be looking for. There's kind of 3 main areas. One, and almost always, you're gonna wanna check kind of the pegs and the engine casing. If these are scratched, then the bike has been down pretty hard. And I don't see any scratches. I mean, there's some little stuff, but nothing crazy. This is still all very clean. That's the first item. We move on then to fairings, the plastics. Are there any major scratches? Now, like I said, there's some,
I don't even know if they're gonna pick up on camera. There's some scratches here, but nothing too crazy, right? This may have been kind of tipped on its side, but not dropped at any point. And kind of you can tell from the turn signals, maybe a little scraped up, nothing too bad. So you're gonna be checking kind of fairings, turn signals, and that's kind of the second thing. Now, as we move up, the third most important thing, and like I said, these are aftermarket, so maybe this was dropped at some point, and he put replacement aftermarket levers and controls on the bike. But check the bar ends. Are there any scratches here? Are there any scratches on the levers? These are obviously perfect, so no. And most modern aftermarket levers actually will go up, right? So if there is an instance of falling or bumping into anything, these won't break right off. They'll kind of just give in on themselves. Think about mirrors on a car. Mirrors on a bike are obviously different, but mirrors on a car will fold in if they run into something. That's kind of how levers are too. The fourth thing to be looking at, and again, I kind of have shown you guys as we go up, no scratches on the pegs, no scratches on the engine casing, that's good. Light scratching on the fairings, plastics, and light scratching on the turn signal. There's no scratches on the controls, so these are probably newer, but as you look closely, you can kind of see some scratches on the mirror. So we know that at some point, this might have just been tipped over. Nothing bad, and again, it's inevitable on beginner bikes, but to what extent? If you start seeing scratches on casings, my advice usually, unless it was disclosed, bring it up, ask them about it, and be wary of the condition of the rest of the bike. We'll move on. Okay, so we're gonna go into the depths a little bit and review the next most important thing to check, and that is, especially when buying from a private party, does the VIN on the frame, which is almost always right here on the neck of the frame, does that match the VIN on the title? Be wary if they say it doesn't have a title. Usually that's a big red flag. But if it does have a title, just make sure that you're checking, the last few of the VIN. I'm not going to show his VIN, but, there's a few letters here. 866 is the last few here. If it doesn't say 866 on the title, hopefully it's a clear and free title, or free and clear title, that's an issue. So make sure that the actual frame VIN matches the title, and you'll be in the clear. There's really nothing more to that other than making sure that those match. I appreciate you making it to this far in the video, and whether you're buying your first bike or your 10th bike, I promise you it does become an addiction, but taking a checklist like this along with you is very, very helpful. Now, the day of purchasing a new motorcycle, whether it's brand new or just new to you, I know that anxiety and excitement of picking that bike up can sometimes cloud judgment. But there's always these instances, and if you watch for these 4 or 5 items, you'll be good every single time and feel confident in the decision you made. Whether you walk away from that deal and find a much better bike, or you end up picking this one up, riding it home, you're gonna feel good either way. So I hope that's all helpful for you all. If you have any questions or need me to go in depth on anything else, please leave a comment below. But in the interim, I appreciate you watching, and ride safe.